Imagine the power of still photographic images. Moments frozen in time that can change the way we perceive our place in the world. To the ends of the earth isn't a new concept. It began when people first started looking beyond the next ridge, the next valley, to the lands beyond the mountains. They searched for the unknown, the unexpected, the surprising, to map, catalog, and show to others. Each explorer searched in their own way to push boundaries, expanding and sharing knowledge of what existed in the great beyond. Here you will see, through a photographic vision, a story for the ends of the earth, photographs by Todd Gustafson, a lifelong personal search for the dramatic and the unexpected. Traveling the world for decades, capturing intimate natural history moments and dramatic wildlife action, Todd has brought to the viewer images from East Africa, Brazil, Namibia, Patagonia, Rwanda, the Galapagos Islands, India, Costa Rica, Madagascar, and the ocean realm, revealing common threads that exist between humanity and the natural world that forever bind our fates together. Ancient map makers could only present what they knew. Beyond the edge of the map was the unknown, inhabited by monsters and dragons. Todd still pursues dragons in his personal search for the ends of the earth. Through Todd's lens, we see a vanishing natural world. We can see a world we have the power to protect. We have a collective voice that can change the course of destruction to one of stability and rebirth. To the ends of the earth is more than a magnificent collection of wildlife photos. Todd's photographs allow us to experience vicariously the very behaviors people most want to see. To the ends of the earth is sharing the earth's beauty to illustrate exactly what is at stake.
Over the last 30 years, I've had the pleasure of sharing East Africa by escorting over 1,000 photographers, helping them achieve their photographic goals at the ends of the earth. I feel an important element to my success was growing up in Tanzania, East Africa. Mom and Dad came here as missionaries, and I was a young child, so I grew up a mission kid here in Tanzania for 4 years. I had a brother and a sister, and Mom and Dad, and we lived in the Usambara Mountains in Tanzania. Running a school was tough business for Dad, and we went out on safari, I think only once or twice. But he had some really pretty pictures, some lions that I remember, and going to the Ngorongoro crater. Coming here to Lake Manyara was terrific. When we got back to the States, he would go with Mom and they would do presentations. And then they'd show what they had done when Dad was building this school and how the school ran, what life was like in East Africa. And I grew up hearing the slide projector fan and sort of smelling that electrical current that goes along with it and seeing the pictures. So that's always sort of been with me. Dad was a photographer, a zoologist, a biologist, and I got that all from him.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen, all for free. No subscription required.
Well, the first time I thought I was coming back as a photographer was in 1986 when my beautiful wife, Julie, decided that we should go to East Africa. I could show her what it was like, and then we should bring Mom and Dad back for a return trip. And that was an adventure. I mean, we came here with like $10 and a plane ticket, made a couple pictures that people liked, and then kind of sat on that for about 10 years until we decided we were going to bring the kids back. Now we had 3 children, and we thought we'd like to show them East Africa. So I was going to make some really good photographs. So for 5 weeks, we're running around Kenya and Tanzania, going back and forth. We covered as much ground as we could. And when I came back with those pictures, I thought, I got something really special here. Understanding the seasons and how they affect animal behaviors is a great advantage to a wildlife photographer. In February, you will inevitably find me in Tanzania photographing the story of the Great Migration's birthing season. The short rains have come to the southern Serengeti, signaling the arrival of the Great Migration of wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles. 2.5 million animals are drawn here by the nutrient-rich short grass plains for the birthing season. Tender, nutritious grasses trigger massive numbers of births. Food is plentiful and predators can easily provide for new cubs. These events weave the tapestry that is the backdrop, the foundation of the East African wildlife natural history that is so intriguing to chronicle and share through photographs. The mother wildebeest waits for the right time to deliver. Have the rains been good? Are there predators near? Are there other babies being born? She can wait for 2 weeks for the right conditions. Calves need to be strong to survive. The mother needs to teach it to stand and nurse. The baby's wobbly legs seem unable to support it. It needs to learn to run so it can join the herd, all in the first 5 minutes of a precarious new life. Seasons change. The long rains have ended and the difficult dry season arrives in the Serengeti. The Great Migration circles north to the breeding grounds for the annual rut. There are obstacles in their way, the Grumeti River and the mighty Mara River, which they must cross to complete their journey. The herds gather in family groups, join other groups until the herds number in the tens of thousands. The energy and momentum of the migration is unstoppable. Afternoon showers begin in late August, creating an irresistible urge to cross the river and graze on fresh new grass. There are dangers in a river crossing. Drowning, broken legs, and huge crocodiles confront the wildebeest. For those that make it across safely and graze on the new grasses, it's only a matter of time before more rains call them back across the river. How do we make photographic sense out of this seemingly random activity? We're in the middle of the Great Migration river crossing season, where 2.5 million wildebeest, zebras, and gazelles cross the Mara River in search of the rains. We've seen the wildebeest herds gathering, from their long lines, to their groupings, to their mega groupings. And we've chased crossings, We've had our frustrations, and we've had our successes. But when we got to the ultimate crossing for us, where the light was good and the setting was fine, and there's a big group of wildebeest crossing, photographic sense comes into play. Are you prepared with your equipment? I have a 200 to 400 for wide shots. I have a 600 millimeter ready for close, tight shots. At that point, will you take the shotgun approach and just shoot anything that looks like a wildebeest? Or will you thoughtfully prepare a composition, have something in mind, and then capture it photographically? When they start piling down the bank, there can be an unbelievable press of animals. There can be a line of animals that go slowly and carefully. They can tumble down the hillside, young ones, adults. And when they hit the water, are they swimming? Are they walking? What are you trying to show the viewer? Motion? Intensity? Action? My favorite pictures from this crossing were where the wildebeest were piling over the cliff and hitting the water and swimming. This is it. They've reached their moment of decision. This is a life moment. Will they break their leg? Will they be eaten by crocodiles? Or are they going to make it to the green grass on the other side? These are the questions on their minds, and our photographic choices will answer those questions. If you can get one animal leaping sharp right into the water, fantastic. If you can get two, fantasticer. But if you can get 3, 4, 5 animals leaping, it can be amazing. When they hit the water, do they leap out again as another comes into play? Those are questions that you can answer with your photographic skills.
Todd has developed strategies and concepts for photographing wildlife that set his intriguing storytelling images apart from others.
What I consider the elements of a good photograph are, first of all, an understanding of your equipment. You need to know how it works and how to manipulate the technical aspects of it to make a proper exposure and make it in focus. So that's just kind of a given. Secondly, I'd like to have an engaging subject. And I don't care if it's a mouse, a bird, a reptile, whatever it's going to be. I want it to be an engaging subject in a cool setting. So if it's a clean background, or if it's a nice branch, or if it's golden light on a meadow, any of those that would be a good setting. Then if you have your subject in a good setting, I'd like the light to be great. And by great, I don't mean it has to be bright light. If it's during the day, I'd prefer clouds. If it's early in the morning, I'd prefer golden, soft light. Same in the afternoon. So the quality of light, I'd like that to be good. And then I would like to be in the best position for the angle of light to capture that animal doing something great. If it's giraffes, I'd like to have them necking. Or if they're elephants, I'd like their ears out. I want to see both tusks. If it's a lion, a growl, a roar, a yawn, greeting behavior is great. So capturing the action of a great subject in a great situation, in great light, and executing flawlessly. I like cats. And I know it's maybe trite to say I love photographing lions that are active. I couldn't care less about sleeping lions, but active lions are intriguing, the social behaviors and interactive things that they do. I love cheetahs. They're powerful, they're fast, there's an elegance about them. Their habits are very interesting. But my favorite's a leopard. Maybe because it's the most challenging, they're the most elusive, they're solitary. They hang out in trees and deep shrubbery, and they come out at dusk, and it's a search. Did I mention the serval cat? Man, oh man, that's a cat that for 20 years I've tried to get, and this was the year for the serval cat. We had a really, really good serval cat who was hunting close to the van, and then when it went out in the meadow, it was in short grass, and it would look, and it would pounce. It was just a terrific thing. I like the cats.
Photography is really about storytelling. What does that image tell you about the subject of the photograph?
What I want to do, I think, is engage the viewer in what might be called the human condition in nature. If you have two lions and they're fighting over a kill, you can obviously sense the anger and the power and the aggression there. Same family might have two females who have just come across the meadow and are greeting each other. And it looks like they're hugging and kissing, which they are. When you see somebody that you haven't seen for a week or a month or whatever, you go and you hug them. And it's exactly what we're seeing there. You can see a lion cub who's looking at the mother and saying, you know, Dad was mean to me when he gave him a backhand and sent him sprawling, and there's that connection here.
What is it that makes a photograph or a series of photographs resonate with the viewer? Knowing the subject of the photograph and the possible stories each of them has to tell is crucial.
The one that comes to my mind above all others is when you're at Lake Nakuru, there are 4 million flamingos there at the right time of year. And during that time, hyenas will hunt the flamingos. I've heard of it, and I've seen it at a distance. And last October, we were point blank with hyenas that were just charging through the water, and the flamingos were flying by the thousands, clouds of them. And we were paralleling these hunting predators. They're not scavengers, they're predators. And they're going in to find a flamingo who isn't quite going to make it, who's injured maybe, or slower, or the whole natural selection thing. And as we're paralleling, you could see that flamingo is weaker than the others and not as fast. And you could tell this is a life moment, right here, right now. And the hyena took it by the neck, and it was done. And it was right in front of it. And it was so fast and so dramatic and intense that it takes your breath away. And you can say the same thing about the birth of a new wildebeest or the birth of a Grant's gazelle. There's a baby, there's a mother. And when we turned the corner, the baby was maybe just hit the ground as a newborn. And the mother nudged it up and got it on its spindly legs. And this baby went to nurse with the mother. And the mother was so proud. It was the human condition. I'm a new mother. This is my child. And in 3 minutes, the baby could bound across the road and on the gangly legs like this. At that moment, you could hear that there were hyena coming. And the mother could hear it, and she got so nervous, and she ran toward the hyenas. And the hyenas ignored her and went right for the baby. And within the scope of 7 minutes from being born to being in the mouth of this hyena, that was a life moment. And nobody could talk for an hour. No one could he couldn't even discuss it. It was so intense. So that's a life moment. My thought process is that I have a subject and I'm pretty aware of the capabilities of that subject. I know what it's likely to do, and I know what I want it to do within those likelihoods. I can see where I'd like him to do it, and I know where I'd like to be when he does it. So I can tell the driver, go there, stop, because I'd like the animal to keep moving there, and when he does this, I can take the picture. I don't have to wait around for it, or when it does it, I don't have to try and run to a different place. So oftentimes I'm in good position, and that animal does exactly what it's going to do. If there's an elephant in a marsh, my God, wouldn't it be great if that came out of the marsh and directly toward your vehicle, and it's as if you're the only person on the planet. It's you and that elephant, face to face. That's exciting, and I'd like to tell them to do it. And when they do it, it's sweet. We want him to turn toward us about 3/4 and then flap his ears. If that would happen, look at this, you kidding me? Go vertical, give me some ears. Oh, stop it. I'm going to a different lens because this guy's huge. Oh, vertical. as he walks off into the sunset. I'm going to tell you that for me was a heart-stopping chance at one of the most dramatic animals in this crater, the bull elephant with the huge tusks. He was point blank. Coming out of the marsh, there's nothing that you could get that's more exciting than that, and I think we executed it. One of the things that's really enjoyable and rewarding about photography is capturing a tiny moment in someone's life, a little slice of life, a vignette that is a meaningful life moment for that animal or bird. Will this gazelle survive the chase or be eaten? Will the cheetah miss the kill and risk starvation, or will she provide for her cubs and have them live to see another day? That's a life moment. So they've decided, the females have, that he's done. I'm not sure he's decided he's done. We'll see, yeah. And he's saying, I will tell you when I'm done. Wow. So that was intense. The male left, and that meant that those hungry females could come in. And they're not really happy with each other, and I think this is the dominant female. She's going to eat her share. Just as important to me is capturing the human condition. It's the fabric of life, the things that we have in common with the natural world that bind our fates together. It's love, play, humor, courtship, conflict. It's everything. Conflict, an opposing action of incompatibles, a fight, a battle, a war. Conflict can be over food, protecting a territory, a mate, or a family. Being in position with the equipment and the skill to capture moments of wildlife action is a high goal in nature photography. Courtship and mating displays are among the most dramatic events in nature. Being in the right place at the right moment is the key to successfully capturing the story. Listen to the male Cory bustard call for a mate. Birds can have stunning courtship displays. Crowned cranes pair for life. This striped kingfisher offers his mate a delicacy, while bachelor flamingos dance in groups to attract females.
Lions have a complex courtship that lasts a week as they ignore all else. Birth, beginnings, starting a family. These powerful feelings captured in a photo will resonate and share with viewers each new life's story. A mother elephant brings her new baby out from the protection of the marsh for the first time. She looks to see if there's danger nearby. A younger female leads the way with the baby safe between the two. The baby has trouble getting through one of the deeper pools and reaches for the mother's trunk for support. Watch as she pushes away the ant's attempted embrace. A new family, a lioness with two cubs, out for the first walk of their young lives. The mother takes them to the edge of the clearing, and when the grass becomes too deep, she gently takes each in her powerful jaws and returns them to the safety of the den. Babies grow, and through play, with parents' guidance and protection, become part of the family, the herd, the pack, the pride. Young lions spar with each other and play fight with mom, practicing the techniques that will make them successful hunters. This cub is surely living out a kill, with the lioness playing the buffalo. A male lion's role in the pride is to protect them. They rest in the bush until they're needed. When the females go out to hunt, the males join the pride till the hunters return. No one told them they should be happy about it. Cubs grow, and play becomes training. Each cub learns what it takes to provide food for themselves and family. Cubs grow to adulthood and have their own families to feed. The training days have made them superb hunters. Lions use sight, speed, ambush, and often cooperative hunting. Leopards have keen sight and are masters of ambush. Predators have extraordinary eyesight and can see prospective prey miles away. Cheetahs rely completely on sight and speed for their hunting success. Understanding each animal's hunting techniques allows for greater chances of capturing the decisive moment in a photograph. Interestingly, the wildebeest seems so close to the cheetah. They want to see the cat and know where the danger is coming from. Serval cats have well-adapted ears that allow them to hear their prey in the tall grass. A well-timed series of pounces are all they need to secure a meal. Defending your hard-earned prey is crucial. Losing it to another predator or scavengers after expending so much energy hunting is a life-threatening ordeal. Cheetahs are fast, but lack the size and power to compete with bigger cats and hyenas. They make their kills on the open plains and have a better chance to see if there are lions or hyenas in the area before they hunt. Knowing that cheetahs must have a successful hunt every day or two can put a dedicated photographer in good position to catch the action. Leopards bring their prey up a tree to avoid lions and hyenas. Their powerful jaws, shoulders, and legs allow them to carry prey twice their weight up a tree. They can eat in peace, quiet, and safety for up to a week on one kill. I'm going to tell you a leopard's tale. The mother leopard had just brought a reed buck kill up a giant fig tree, and her two cubs were just old enough to go down on the ground by themselves. While they're down, you could hear a hyena coming in. It was a big hyena. You could hear the sounds, and the mother was up there going crazy. The cubs were going to be killed. Instead, she picks up the kill and drops the reed buck right in front of the hyena, who picks it up, runs away, and the leopard cubs go right up the tree, and the mom just started yelling at them. It was amazing. Lions are at the top of the food chain. They don't really worry about other predators taking their food. Feeding can be intense as everyone tries to get their share before the food is gone. When lions are done eating, there's a variety of scavengers who move in to clean up. Usually vultures are the first to fly in and soon joined by the jackals and hyenas. These hyenas have made a kill of their own and are nervously looking for scavenging lions. Here we see a male lion finishing at a buffalo kill. The pride has left, and his brother just walked into the marsh. He's not that hungry anymore. You can see his full belly. He's still not ready to give his kill to the waiting vultures. As they move in, the lion charges again and again until he tires of the game and joins his brother in the marsh. That's when the next battle begins. Silverback jackals trot in to get their share, diving and jumping at the competing vultures. The story goes on. East Africa is where you can truly photograph the entire tapestry of life in the wild. To the ends of the earth's single most important goal is to continue and expand conservation efforts that will protect vanishing habitat and wildlife for generations to come. Commonalities are intriguing. We all go through the physical process of living our lives. We eat, drink, walk, run in our own unique ways. The adaptations of different species are fascinating. An elephant's trunk has over 40,000 muscles in it. Watch as this elephant uses his trunk to carefully clean mud off the grass roots. Sharp acacia thorns? No problem. Lions can actually be delicate with their dinner. A giraffe's tongue can be as long as 20 inches, and their amazing neck has only 7 vertebrae, the same number as humans. Does one drink from a puddle or drink in the pond? Gerenuk don't drink water at all. They've adapted to their arid environment and get all of their water from fresh leaves. Everyone gets from here to there one way or another. Some walk, some glide, slither, or fly. Again, it's the differences in stride, gait, speed that make it all so interesting. Translating the action of a moving animal to a still image is a challenge. When it's done properly, the speed, power, and momentum of the subject comes to life. Still images from a continuous rapid burst can reflect a unique story of movement. This cheetah's burst of speed chasing a gazelle at 70 miles an hour was photographed at 12 frames per second. The resulting combination brilliantly reflects its speed. Taking photographs at high speed can freeze action and present to the viewer a feeling of suspended time, while an image shot at a slow shutter speed will convey a blurred, silky-feeling image in motion. Sometimes a photographic situation is cute, funny, or just makes you smile. With the limitless photo subjects in East Africa, what kind of photograph resonates with viewers?
Some people might like a portrait. I love primate portraits, man. Chimpanzee, yellow baboon, vervet monkey, colobus monkey, any number of those. Just if you line up primate portraits, I like that. You can do that with cats. You can have a theme with antelope. Some people like action. I'm not taking it unless the bird's flying. And I'm not going to take it unless it's eating something. And so there are fewer pictures in that portfolio, but the ones that are there are dramatic if they're captured well. And van position is crucial to all that. You want to be in the best position as far as the light and the subject and the background, and then have the behavior happen right in front of you. This is an important distinction that inexperienced or new nature photographers, especially in Africa, sort of miss. They get subject-driven. They say, I am going to shoot Africa, and Africa consists of giraffes. There's a giraffe. So you're shooting that subject, and you may have captured that subject well. And then there's another subject. There's an elephant. I hear there are elephants here. This is important. So, and they've got a picture of an elephant. Now, that's totally subject-driven. What I look at as situational photography is more important. What is that giraffe doing? There are many giraffes around. Are these giraffes in the trees and their necks are sticking awkwardly and being bisected by the skyline and you know, is it a messy situation? That would be a picture of that subject, a giraffe. Done. If you have that subject in a meadow where the grass is this long and it's just jade green or sort of an amber, and you have hills behind them and clouds above, and that situation adds some golden light from the late afternoon sun. And that's a situation where that subject looks amazing and it's riveting. And that's when I get excited.
Sometimes a simple portrait or photograph of a group of animals can convey a message. A portrait should be more than a close-up headshot. A group photo should illustrate more than lots of feathers or a pile of fur. If a single image can illustrate power, grace, wisdom, vulnerability, sorrow, or joy, it has achieved a lofty goal. Here is our chance to give wildlife a curtain call through deceptively simple portraiture. Elephants share news with the most delicate touching and intertwining of their trunks. African hunting dogs bound and play until an unseen message signals the hunt. A lion's powerful roar calls the pride. A cheetah uses all of his senses to find his brother after a nocturnal hyena ambush. He smells, marks, finds a high vantage point from which to search. His plaintive calls and chirps are finally answered, and the brothers reconnect. What is the importance of communication to the survival of the family, the pack, the pride, the herd that has allowed them to survive for millennia? How vital is it for us to relearn those communication skills and have the human species reconnect with the natural world for the survival of all?
And think how these wild creatures have so much in common with each other and with us. Through Todd's lens, we see a vanishing natural world. We can see a world we have the power to protect. If we, of all creatures, can best understand consequences and plan far ahead, then let us do so.
I choose to use my photography to stand with nature, our delicate planet, and the wildlife that are shown in this documentary.
To the ends of the earth is sharing the earth's beauty to illustrate exactly what is at stake. Imagine a world without elephants, lions, giraffes, and those are just the obvious animals at risk. Collectively, these images explore different aspects of the animal's behavior, a visual commentary on what it means to be born free into the last wild places. Imagine the power of still photographic images. Moments frozen in time that can change the way we perceive our place in the world. To the ends of the earth isn't a new concept. It began when people first started looking beyond the next ridge, the next valley, to the lands beyond the mountains. They searched for the unknown, the unexpected, the surprising, to map, catalog, and show to others. Each explorer searched in their own way to push boundaries, expanding and sharing knowledge of what existed in the great beyond. Here you will see, through a photographic vision, a story to the ends of the earth, photographs by Todd Gustafson, a lifelong personal search for the dramatic and the unexpected. Traveling the world for decades, capturing intimate natural history moments and dramatic wildlife action, Todd has brought to the viewer images from East Africa, Brazil, Namibia, Patagonia, Rwanda, the Galapagos Islands, India, Costa Rica, Madagascar, and the ocean realm, revealing common threads that exist between humanity and the natural world that forever bind our fates together. Ancient map makers could only present what they knew. Beyond the edge of the map was the unknown, inhabited by monsters and dragons. Todd still pursues dragons in his personal search for the ends of the earth. Through Todd's lens, we see a vanishing natural world. We can see a world we have the power to protect. We have a collective voice that can change the course of destruction to one of stability and rebirth. To the Ends of the Earth is more than a magnificent collection of wildlife photos. Todd's photographs allow us to experience vicariously the very behaviors people most want to see.
For centuries, humankind has struggled mightily to distance our species from the natural world. Herewith, by the keen light of Todd Gustafson's eyes, the natural world. Long ago, before the tongue had any word for beauty, we felt our response. Images can evoke our feeling before we can come up with the words. And these images are so evocative because they perceive deeply. I have another name for the natural world. I call it the real world. For essentially all of Earth's history, all the living world's history, and virtually all of human history, there was no natural world. The world was natural. It was not a category. It was simply what was. These images reflect and celebrate the living world, but they imply a kind of heartbreak for a living world so vitally unaware of how imperiled it is. Can we not take a lesson from indigenous people who continue to live not as the Earth's stewards, but as part of a world that is natural? Here we will explore what it means to push boundaries as we travel from the roof of the world, the Himalayas, to the driest deserts on the planet, like the Great Namib, and continue pushing boundaries in our exploration to the world's wettest rainforests of Madagascar and Costa Rica, all the while carrying the longest telephoto lenses, allowing us to maintain a photographing distance that helps prevent our presence from disturbing wildlife's natural behavior. You will see how using the widest view fisheye lenses can capture panoramic vistas and create an unparalleled scene, and macro lenses that give the closest, most intimate view of the tiny creatures with whom we share this delicate planet.
Our goal is to capture, through still photographs and film, wildlife's intriguing behaviors and adaptations that tell stories of evolution, adaptation, and change in these animals who have pushed boundaries for millennia to possess unique characteristics that set them apart from all others. Nowhere is the need for the longest telephoto lens more apparent than in the Himalayas on a quest for the snow leopard. Boundaries are certainly pushed at 14,000 feet, so when a mother and two cubs revealed themselves, it was both a challenge and a joy to use 1,200 millimeters of telephoto lens to photograph them. In East Africa, wide open savannas allow photography from great distances. It's a perfect location to use super telephoto lenses. In rainforests, they give us intimate views into the lives of wary subjects high in the jungle canopy. Super telephoto lenses give a compressed feel to distant subjects. On the coast of Namibia, these Cape fur seals look like they'll be buried by an incoming wave. These 3-week-old lion cubs illustrate the importance of staying far enough away so as not to disturb their nursing. We've had some good long lens photography in the forest, but what I'd like to do now is look through the forest floor, bromeliads and buttress roots and some of the really large tropical trees, and get a flavor for what it really feels like to be in a rainforest. I'm going to take this off of the big lens, and I'm going to put a 10.5 millimeter wide angle lens on. The complete opposite view of our super telephoto, and go on into the deep forest. Then I'll try it with flash. The idea here is to take these wide-angle pictures and stitch them together to form our concept of what the feel of this forest really is. Not the reality of it, because these trees aren't every 2 feet, but the perception is that this is the rainforest. The same multi-frame super panoramic technique can be used in the desert, at a watering hole, anywhere. It's macro photography at its best. Right there's our subject, a low subject that we can easily work with. And we've got our macro setup. Twin light flash, a 105 macro lens that allows us to focus really close on a subject.
Glass frogs make a dramatic macro subject. Eggs are laid on leaves that overhang rainforest pools and streams, so hatching tadpoles drop to safety. Male glass frogs stay with several different egg masses to protect them from predators. You can see the back has markings that look like eggs. When lit from below, it's easy to see why it's called a glass frog. Perhaps nothing illustrates pushing boundaries in the natural world more than the seemingly infinite strategies animals employ to eat. Lots of species eat in similar ways. Whether on Himalayan cliffs or the tundra of Iceland, ungulates tend to be grazers and browsers, eating what is available in their diverse habitats. The species that are most photogenic and add spice to the story are those whose habitats are uniquely theirs. Physiological developments have evolved over millennia to fit each specific feeding need. A prime example of physical adaptation and specialization are the chameleons. More than 90 species of chameleons are endemic to the island of Madagascar, where pushing the boundaries of evolution is the norm. Chameleons can change colors to fit their environment or mood. Their unique halting walk confuses prey. Their eyes operate independently of each other, but most amazing of all is the hunting strategy, where their tongues have evolved to lengths of up to 1.5 times their body length. The tongue extends to the prey in around 1/30,000th of a second. Once the tip sticks to its prey, it is drawn quickly back into the mouth, where the chameleon's strong jaws crush and eat it. Also endemic to Madagascar are 104 species of lemurs, primates who live nowhere else in the world. Lemurs are intriguing animals, with each species being distinct from all others. Some are fiercely territorial, while other species live in groups of 10 or more. Most of their time is spent in the trees eating fruit, leaves, bark, buds, insects, and seeds, but diet varies among different species. Some, for example, are mainly insectivorous, whereas others feed almost exclusively on foliage and fruit. The enigmatic, rarely seen eye is a long-fingered lemur with rodent-like teeth that perpetually grow, an especially adapted long, thin middle finger. It is the world's largest nocturnal primate and is characterized by its unusual method of eating coconuts. Although omnivorous, they are perfectly adapted to bite through the coconut husk, using their forward slanting incisors to create a small hole, in which they insert their narrow middle finger to pull out the coconut meat. Humans are most closely related to the great apes of the family Hominidae. That includes orangutans, chimpanzees, gorillas, and bonobos. Of the great apes, humans and gorillas share 98.4% of their DNA. Mountain gorillas have carefully practiced techniques for eating vegetation. There's an abundance of nutrient-rich, water-filled thistles that gorillas have learned to eat by pointing the sharp leaf ends down when they feed. Mountain gorillas don't drink water and get 100% of their moisture from plants that grow in the high volcanic mountain forest. It's fascinating to watch the seemingly casual way they pick and eat the most succulent of all the plants that surround them. A plant called garium is a favorite food of gorillas for its flavor and texture. There are over 47 species of leafcutter ants. The species of tropical fungus-growing ants are all endemic to South and Central America. Leafcutter ants can carry 20 times their body weight as they cut and process leaves, flowers, and grasses to serve as the nutritional substrate for underground fungal growth, which they cultivate. Their societies are based on what's called an ant-fungus mutualism. Different species of ants grow different species of fungus. The ants actively cultivate their underground fungus, feeding it with freshly cut plant material and keeping it free from pests and molds. The fungus cultivated by the adults is used to feed the ant larvae, while the adult ants feed on leaf sap. The fungus needs the ants to stay alive, and the larvae need the fungus to stay alive, so not only does it benefit both, but each could not survive without the other. When the ants are out collecting leaves, they can be attacked by phorid flies, a parasite that will lay eggs into the crevices of the worker ants' heads. Often, a protector ant will sit on a leaf and ward off possible attacks. Every 5 to 6 years, the colony's queen dies. The workers drop their leaves and migrate to a new nesting area. At these times, it is possible to see the massive fungus growing from cuttings left above the ground. A unique adaptation is the shape and use of macaw beaks. One of their favorite foods is palm nuts. In central Brazil, hyacinth macaws feast on groves of palm nut trees by selecting the ripest of the fruits. Their beaks are perfectly adapted to the palm nut's shape, and with help from their dexterous claws, they make quick work of the tough husks. The next challenge is the hard interior nut shell. It's no match for the macaw's sharp, powerful, perfectly shaped beak. Speaking of beaks and bills, birds of the world have pushed boundaries since the age of dinosaurs and have developed countless variations of beak sizes, shapes, and purposes. Let's explore some of the more dramatic results of that evolution. These roseate spoonbills filter the water of shallow lagoons for small fish and crustaceans. Pelicans scoop up fish. The aptly named flower piercer doesn't drink nectar from flowers like most birds. They go right to the source and pierce the base of the flower to drink with their specially adapted beak. Aracaris are members of the toucanet family. Their wonderful colors and handsome beaks make them a prized photo subject. However, they are voracious eaters and use their specialized beaks to reach into and rob other birds' nests. In South America, the diminutive hornero builds an oven-like nest of mud with a curved entry like a horn to thwart the aracaris. Sloths are the very embodiment of adaptation. They have been around for millions of years. Giant sloths the size of elephants roamed North America grazing on Cenozoic trees. We can still see the effects of their foraging by looking at the protective bark that trees evolved as a defense. Today, the closest living relatives to sloths are armadillos, tamandua, and giant anteaters. Just look at the front claws of the giant anteater. They're specially adapted to dig for ants, but they are reminiscent of sloth claws. The tamandua does the same, but can also use their claws to climb trees. The sloth species most likely to be seen in Central America are the two-toed and the smaller, slower three-toed sloths. They aren't closely related. In fact, they aren't even in the same family, but have evolved similar characteristics and habits through convergent evolution. Two-toed sloths are omnivores who eat leaves, fruit, insects, and even small lizards. Three-toed sloths eat mostly cecropia leaves. They live almost exclusively in trees, having sets of 3 curved claws perfectly suited to grip tree branches. Their incredibly slow metabolism goes hand in hand with their slow movements, which may also help camouflage and protect them from predators. Their diet consists only of fresh cecropia leaves. Babies have a close relationship with their mothers for the first 6 months, after which they move to a nearby tree and still communicate with soft calls. Living most of their life upside down has caused the hair on sloths' legs to grow toward the body instead of away, to help shed rainwater. One of the sloth's most intriguing features is the symbiotic relationship with over 80 species of algae and fungi that live in the sloth's hair, giving it a multi-hued green color.
As sloths tend to eat one plant species, so do Madagascar's tiny giraffe beetles. First discovered in the 1860s, this rarely seen insect's entire life is lived in a forest habitat of less than a few square miles in eastern Madagascar. Within this small area grows the anecdotally named giraffe beetle tree, on which the giraffe beetles eat, live, mate, and reproduce. Females have short necks, while the male's long articulated neck is used in nest building and fighting. They're one of my favorite macro photo subjects. If you wanted to be able to eat the tastiest bugs that lived on the edges of rivers and ponds, I suppose the best way to do that would be to develop long, widespread feet, half the length of your body. That's exactly what jacanas have done. Their elongated toes and nails allow them to walk on top of floating aquatic vegetation. From a photographer's point of view, I love to catch the moment when their feet are showing, the moment that defines what makes them unique. Three of the 8 jacana species are the African jacana, northern jacana, and the wattled jacana. When they fly from lily pad to lily pad, their amazing feet dangle behind. And just as they land, there's a momentary wing stretch that's a challenge to capture.
Our journey of discovery takes us to deserts. A desert must have an evaporation rate 10 times higher than its annual rainfall. Here in the Great Namib Desert, evaporation is 300 times rainfall. That weather feature would seem to make this habitat devoid of life. However, these trails and tracks tell a different story. Even in this most inhospitable land, life will find a way. Look at this beautiful shovel-snouted lizard. Reptiles have adapted to temperature extremes by burying themselves in the sand during the heat of the day and hunting when the temperatures drop. Palmato gecko is one of the spectacular creatures who have adapted to this desert world. Dancing white lady spider, sand diving lizard, and sidewinder have all pushed boundaries to survive in this harshest of environments. "1,500-year-old Weltwichia plants have adapted to desert conditions. Nara plants are crucial to the formation of desert landscapes. Their specialized roots can grow longer and longer as the dune grows taller. Here are seemingly dry grasses whose patterns follow an underground water source. 900-year-old fossilized acacia trees stand where there was once a reliable oasis. Water is life. Understanding this simple concept can put a photographer in position to capture some of the dramatic struggle for survival that centers around a life-giving water source. Here we can see life pushing boundaries as animals use adaptations to sustain life at rivers, streams, ponds, waterholes, or even a flower's petal.
Anytime a photographer is near still water, reflections can become a part of the photographic story. The success or failure of the photograph is reliant on the success in finding dramatic scenes or wildlife to include in the reflections. A classic photographic location is the African watering hole. Herds and individual animals travel great distances in their daily routine to visit their favorites. The approach can vary from a patient, unrelenting walk to a joyous leaping run to water. Some carefully walk to the edge and sip, while others go in up to their chests to guzzle as much as they can.
Here's a story told in film and stills. It tells of a single afternoon at a desert watering hole and the competition for access to this precious life-giving liquid. The cast of characters includes Pied Crow, Cory Bustard, Blackback Jackal, Springbok, Oryx, Honey Badger, and Lions. As water is life to these wild creatures, light is life to a photographer. The word photography has its roots in ancient Greek, literally, painting with light.
For a photographer who has traveled to the ends of the earth to photograph the natural world, the color, amount, quality, and direction of light is crucial to the look and feel of the photograph. Direct front light, clouded light, backlight, overexposure and underexposure, as well as slow shutter speeds, all have their place in a photographer's technique. Dramatic photos can be made with sunlight pointed right at the main subject. I think that works best with golden early morning or even clouded light. Carefully chosen backlit subjects can capture a viewer's imagination by highlighting dust or a rim light around the subject. I typically underexpose the shot to add contrast to the image. If I include dry grass in a backlit scene, I'll overexpose to give the animal detail while making the grass take on a golden glow. On a bright sunny day where colors are washed out, I'll sometimes heavily overexpose a shot to the point where only black and white exist. Just look at these three views of the same location. One is pre-dawn light, the next is full sun, and the third is the magical half hour in between. It's hard to find the exact right time and place for this, but an interesting technique is to use a slow exposure on a still subject with surrounding subjects in motion. They create a wash of blurred activity around the static main subject.
Boy, this is nice. It's a well-defined line of wildebeest. They're doing an in-the-crater migration. So the herds will head from one end of the crater to the other, depending on if there have been some fresh rains and new grass. This line goes from there to there. Really nice. The trick here is to find one still animal with animals moving around him. Ooh, that's pretty cool. I'll try that one again. I like that. A longer exposure, making more motion.
What separates a bad photo situation, or even a good one, from a great one?
If I see a subject, the first inclination is to say, "There's a bird." Click. What's it sitting on? Is it sitting on a fence post? Or is it sitting on a beautiful vine-covered branch? Or a dramatic nest? So that's part of the story you can tell easily. This morning there was a rufous-tailed hummingbird. He was in a bush. If you took the picture from your first vantage point, there were sticks and leaves and all kinds of clutter behind it. If you went 3 meters to the right, you still had that bird, but it was a soft green background. If you moved 6 inches more, you could see the tail, and you could tell the story that this was a rufous-tailed hummingbird. It's not just a bird, it's a hummingbird, and it's a rufous-tailed hummingbird because you can see it. So I much prefer that as the picture. I continually ask myself if I'm taking a picture of a subject, here a stack of Pantanal caiman, or a situation, also a Pantanal caiman, but this time in a much more interesting one. Floating past this magnificent tiger heron gave us the perfect chance to analyze the background and the bird's posture to choose the best moment for a photo. This Varro's dancing sifaka gave us everything. Perfect light, approach angle, nice background, but he had thistles stuck in his fur. The very next sifaka did the same, but just look at his fluffy white coat. This guy chose a lovely shaded area to dance, but the background is less than ideal. Now we have a sifaka with fluffy fur and a dark background, and his back is to us. And finally, everything is just right, and he's facing us. Our work here is done.
Mountain gorillas live in some of the toughest shooting locations in the world. The volcanic landscape has different vegetation that can make or break a photo shoot.
Bamboo is the worst, as it creates stripy lines of dark and light that makes getting a good look at the gorilla's dark fur impossible. Bright sunlight can ruin a scene as well. My favorite situation for these dramatic subjects is clouded light with open forest green around them. Here's the same subject and light in two situations, moments apart. One on the road, the other in golden grass. Picture traveling to the ends of the earth, to Brazil's Pantanal, and you've just spotted the elusive jaguar. There she is. Shoot! Shoot! Or do you wait and hope that she comes out, a good shot in its own right? Do you then wait till she walks onto a sandy beach along the river? Or do you wait for the hunt to take her up on one of the massive root systems? Knowing what the situational possibilities are will help you photograph your subject in more powerful situations. The point here is to get the best of what a situation offers, but be open to new situations that are better. If you're taking time on a subpar situation, you are, by definition, not actively looking for a better one.
Ears are fascinating. Every animal has different ears that serve each of them in different ways. The caracal's tufted ears are built to listen for birds. They patrol the savanna and lock on to prey. This chital fawn listens for the sounds of a predator. Bat-eared foxes are insectivores who live in colonies of up to 16 individuals. They use their highly developed ears to listen for the sound of insects that live on the plains. Here they have found a colony of termites and feast on the migrating insects.
As one who enjoys theme-based photography, I love ears. Staying with themes, why not explore the details of fur texture and design? Not only species differences, but variations within each species. Zebra stripes are often compared to fingerprints, as each individual has its own stripe pattern. And how about eyes? Every lemur species has a distinctive eye color.
Here's our chance to enjoy some of the heroes of the natural world. Howler monkeys communicate over huge distances to let others know where they are. Skimmers have a beautiful way of communicating during courtship. A couple chooses a nesting site. They defend it against all others. The female completes the nest while the male skims for a fish. The fish is offered to the female and once the transfer is complete, the beautiful flurry of wings signals the mating. In the forests of Madagascar lived the endangered black Indri. These lemurs call to family members to keep track of each other while feeding. The haunting calls are reminiscent of whale song.
Photographers who can learn the way wildlife communicates can prepare for and photograph the most dramatic events without feeling of, oh, I missed the shot of a lifetime, or I got a miracle shot.
In the deserts of western Namibia, pairs of Rupel's horehound feed in the sand and sparse vegetation. They are monogamous and use their funny frog-like voices in duet to keep in contact with each other. Tink frogs join the night chorus to attract mates. East Africa's rattling cisticola sings for the same reason. Madagascar's hissing cockroaches have different hissing sounds for different reasons, like alarm, aggression, or, as in this case, courtship. Here is a different communication altogether. Meerkats have sentries who warn the community of imminent danger. It's the same with gazelles, impala, or springbok. The entire herd is aware of an approaching predator. Nowhere is listening to wildlife for alerts to danger more important than in India. Tigers roam these forests, and all of the animals are aware of an approaching predator. Their communication is vital to their survival and crucial to a photographer. Monkeys, peacocks, barking deer, spotted deer, and sambar all have distinct alarm calls that inform us where to be when the tigers reveal themselves. Can we as a species reconnect with the natural world? Can we raise our awareness, listen to the alarm calls, and remember our place in a world in which we have become such a major influence? In this documentary and through the beauty of these images, the toucans, the jaguars, the elephants and chameleons, we join them as the living links in the incomprehensibly great chain of being. They represent the deep sweep of time. They represent where life has brought us. They are who is with us still, now.
And think how these wild creatures have so much in common with each other and with us. Through Todd's lens, we see a vanishing natural world. We can see a world we have the power to protect. If we, of all creatures, can best understand consequences and plan far ahead, then let us do so.
I choose to use my photography to stand with nature, our delicate planet, and the wildlife shown in this documentary.
To the ends of the earth is sharing the earth's beauty to illustrate exactly what is at stake. Imagine a world without elephants, lions, giraffes, and those are just the obvious animals at risk. Collectively, these images explore different aspects of the animal's behavior, a visual commentary on what it means to be born free into the last wild places.
Many ancient civilizations worshipped gods in the form of birds. Egyptians venerated the strength of Horus, and Greeks connected the owl of Athena with wisdom. The son of Ra came in the form of a duck, while numbers and magic were the domain of ibis-headed Thoth. Ancient Greeks told the story of Daedalus and Icarus, using the powers of flight as a metaphor for challenging humanity's limitations. Winged Nike was the goddess of speed, of strength, and victory, while Romans regarded the messenger Mercury as the inventor of all the arts. Today, we need to continue to embrace birds as an integral part of our world. East Africa alone has more than 1,300 bird species, each with its own story to tell. Through Todd Gustafson's lens and To the Ends of the Earth series, we have an unparalleled eye-level photographer's view of avian species with whom we share our delicate planet. We have so much in common and share so many of life's imperatives with birds. We all compete for mates and food. We raise families and provide for them. Some things we do for the sheer joy of it. Raptors, waders, waterbirds, and bushbirds all have a part in this story. Sharing the diversity and beauty of East African birds and focusing attention on the need for conservation-based coexistence goes hand in hand with creating a better way forward for humanity and the rest of the natural world. Celebrate the beauty of East Africa's bird life and get an intimate glimpse into the life stories of these dynamic avians through Todd's vision presented here in To the Ends of the Earth, Birds of East Africa. To give a perspective of how Todd's photographic vision and passion for wildlife began, Todd and his brother Brian returned to their roots in Magamba, Tanzania, to visit the school built by their father in the 1960s.
I'm going to go back to 1962 when Dad, as a 40-year-old with a family of 3 kids, somebody asked him to come and build a school in Tanzania, and he said, yeah, but building the school and being the headmaster, and being a biology, zoology teacher.
Exactly.
And raising a family. That's a challenge. I think right here is where I got my first love of nature. Growing up in the Usambara Mountains at 7,000 feet, and as a small child, having this as my backyard. Mom and Dad were doing their thing, running the school, keeping house, and I could explore this beautiful rainforest. Inside it were colobus monkeys, chameleons, clouds of butterflies. It was an amazing place to be. Dad was the headmaster here, so when people came through looking for specific bird species, he would know where to find them. They'd come through and they would say, we need to find the Usambara scops owl, or we need the Usambara golden weaver, or where's the special, only in this area, 2-horned chameleon? And he knew where to get them, so he would send them on their way, but now I know where to find them.
How does a successful wildlife photographer make the choices of which species to shoot, which subjects to stop for, and which to pass by?
That is experiential. I mean, I do have a lot of birds in my mind. Some people may be calling me a bird brain, but I think I'm good with about 800 species here that I can just say, that's this is that. And hey, we ignore that because we've seen a gazillion, or we could expect to see them in a better situation. So when I see a pearl-spotted owlet, I know that we better stop. It's uncommon. It's beautiful. It has golden eyes, and in the back of its head, it has false eyes. It's just an interesting bird, as are many of them. So I know which ones I want to go for and which ones to kind of pass on. Each park is going to have its specialties. When you're looking at a park like Samburu in Kenya, you know you're going to have red-billed, yellow-billed, gray hornbills. You're going to find those, and you're going to know their habits and their habitats. And you can drive by 50 of them because they're rooting around on the ground or they're buried in the trees. But I know in the afternoon they're going to pop up, some of them on a dead branch, and look around and maybe call a little bit. So that's when I start looking for hornbills. Not, oh, there's a hornbill, let's photograph them. There's a situation where the hornbill is beautifully photographable, and that's what I'll do there. Lake Manyara has groundwater forest. All the water coming off the escarpment makes this beautiful rainforest-like habitat.
And so you got gray hornbills, crowned hornbills, ground hornbills, silver-cheeked hornbills, which are just spectacular. They like to be high in the trees. So if I see them high in the trees, I can say, there's a silver-cheeked hornbill, and drive on. If there's one down low, stop the vehicle and stop it like 10 feet ago so that we can approach it softly, quietly, and get in its zones and see if we can catch it doing some behaviors that we like.
Todd has developed techniques in his photographic approach that allow him to build on an intriguing, dynamic portfolio.
I always ask my drivers what their favorite subject is, and you'll get an idea of then how they look for subjects. I happen to like, I could consider myself an omnivore. I'm not just an animal photographer. It's not that only birds are what I like to photograph. If it's a beautiful subject, I'll go for it. Reptiles, mammals, scenery, flowers, plants, insects. I really like to photograph all of them well, and I use a similar style when I'm doing those different subjects. And I love birds, man. My brother and I have had this conversation many times. People go on safari. They want to see an elephant. They want to see a giraffe. They want to see lions. And some of them ignore the 1,300, depending on who's counting, species of birds that are here in Tanzania and Kenya. 1,300 species. And with that many phenomenal and interesting and infinite situations to photograph with birds, I mean, I'm ready anytime to do that. I like birds.
The soda lakes of the Great Rift Valley support myriad bird species. Among them are the strikingly beautiful flamingos of the Great Rift Valley lakes. Flamingos are an iconic global species that include East Africa's greater and lesser flamingos. When they gather in numbers, their behaviors are riveting, from flight, group mating dances, to rhythmic feeding, with the best photographic angle being at eye level. We begin our journey at Lake Natron, home to millions of greater and lesser flamingos. Flamingo populations are dependent on water levels, chemistry, and food supply. These two East African flamingo species court, nest, and raise chicks in the shallow, nutrient-rich waters of this remote lake. The pink and reddish colors of a flamingo's feathers come from eating pigments found in algae and invertebrates. Dense concentrations of birds tend to gather at hot springs where algae and invertebrates proliferate. Flamingos' beaks have evolved and adapted to what they eat. Lesser flamingos have what is called a deep-keeled bill. They mostly eat algae. Greater flamingos have a shallow-keeled bill, which allow them to eat insects, invertebrates, and small fish. Watch them feed. They stir up the bottom of the lake with their feet and dip their beaks into the mud and water to catch their meal. Flamingos gather in colonies or flocks. The colony protects each other from predators and keeps the young safe. A group of flamingos will mate at the same time, so that all of the chicks will hatch at the same time. The courtship dances are dramatic. They can start with a few bachelors and can grow to hundreds of birds, showing off as they march in step. Flamingos are monogamous. Once they mate, they tend to stay with that mate. The little grey chicks get their colours as they eat more and more krill and algae. The beauty of these elegant birds is multifaceted. Individually, their shape, feather textures, brilliant colours and gait are intriguing. In pairs and groups, their coordinated movements are reminiscent of a ballet. Flamingos in flight are equally dramatic. Singly and in groups, the legs, neck, and wing patterns are simply riveting. All of these factors go into the making of beautiful flamingo photographs. What can make a great scene explode with color and texture is when a jackal stalks the flock, looking for a meal. Even more dramatic is a predatory dive from a raptor. In the Ngorongoro crater, the flamingo-filled lake is simply beautiful until a marsh harrier dives and the scene is turned into a whirling mass of pink wings. Of all the dynamic traits that birds possess, the one most universally envied is flight. Each species has a distinctive flight style, from gliding to swooping, to hovering, and everything in between. Out of all the photo subjects available in East Africa, how is it that Todd has such a rich, diverse portfolio of birds?
Birds are flitty. And what's difficult is when I was hiking last week along a stream, and there's an uncommon bird and tough to photograph. It's the African black duck. And they were coming to a pool where there was a cascading waterfall. And I thought, I can catch up to them in that pool because they'll have to stay because there's a waterfall. They got to the waterfall and they flew off, and I never saw them again. I forgot they can fly. So they can go from here to there in a heartbeat. But if you can establish some pattern of their habits, there's a giant kingfisher down in Lake Minyara that I know where he lives. I know where he likes to hunt. Every time I pass by that point, there's rocks and some green and some pools and some water. Then there's some trees that have nice limbs over the water, and he likes to hang out there. So if he's there, I'm ready. This is a place where we can see the giant kingfisher. We don't always see him here, but today it seems like there are two. I can hear him calling, and you hear a response. That was a nice turn of the head there. So at this point, we've positioned ourselves so that we're looking at the background. With the bird in it, he's in a bad angle and a position, but if he reshifts, we'll have a great background and a great subject. That is it. Oh, come on, right here. He's on a new perch, single branch, and there's nothing behind him. Yeah. It's a dead-on portrait of this beautiful kingfisher, full body, facing us. There's a beautiful green leaf behind him, a dead, dark green behind that, and his whole chest is showing. And every situation here has been different with the background. One was the water, then one was green. We had real dark green with a bright leaf, and now this is sort of a uniform forest green. That's a fat cat. Our first clue that there was a kill here was the number of hyenas that were in the long grass looking this way. I can hear hippos in the river, the Grumeti River. This is a hippo carcass here that's been killed by, it looked like 5 or 6 lions of the Grumeti pride. I've never seen a hippo kill, and you can only imagine the battle this must have been last night, where you have this massive hippo with flashing teeth and 5 or 6 powerful lions, maybe a kilometer from the river. I can't even imagine. Right now we've got jackals doing their scavenging. That's a lot of meat for that little jackal. Yeah, with this hippo kill, there are 8,000 things happening at once. We've got all the vultures are coming in. We've got the griffin's vulture, we've got hooded vultures, we've got white-backed vultures. There's the hyenas. We've got the jackals. Flight photography is tremendous. Another aspect to a kill is the final scavenger group, the vultures. And when they fly in, it can be spectacular flight photography. Oh, you hear the hissing when those white-backed vultures come in.
And the hyenas coming in.
Hyenas, too. This is going to be a feast. Left. Now you can get the flight line. Here they come. There's just squadrons coming in. This is amazing, amazing. Oh, this is just great. With the wind angle, with the light, it's a great coordination for our photography. The goal here I like is when they flare just as they land and all their wing feathers show. Landing gear down. I've worked a lot with a long lens on this scene, trying to get individual birds and hyena faces. But to capture this scene as a full kill, I'm using a wider 80 to 200 millimeter lens. The wings are flapping. There's a tree in the left corner, a termite hill in the bottom. That's a well-organized kill. The obvious shot here is a pile of feathers. But what are you going to make of that? Sometimes one vulture will come up and be the king. Sometimes the hyena, oh look at that, vultures are just on top of each other. They're standing on each other. Oh, then when you get a hyena sticking its head up, taking ownership. This is how different things can be in the matter of an hour. This morning we had a hippo kill, and I mentioned at that point, this is an organized kill. It looks photographically elegant and a lot of action. Now, it's broken up. There are 3 parts of this hippo left over, and there's just scads of vultures everywhere. From that mess of birds and scavengers, I'm hoping for maybe 3 shots. I took a lot of shots, but I want wings that are well organized in some form around one of the hyena faces as a rock. I have a panoramic view that I did of the whole thing, and then some of the flight, all these vultures coming in spectacular light. It should be a nice thing for maybe 3 shots. Bee ears are well-defined, sharp, colorful. When they fly, their wings just go like this. And they always come back to the same perch. And as always, they often come back to the same perch. So you can be prepared when they fly off that they're going to come back here. They're searching for the bees, so you can get lots of different head positions. It's not like a bird in a tree that's sort of, asleep or roosting or just preening all the time. They're active, they're cute, they're colorful.
Oxpeckers are the quintessential cleanup bird. Their symbiotic relationship features a host animal who provides the oxpecker with parasitic insects to eat. In return, the animal gets a nice cleaning, keeping the oxpeckers fed and the animals healthy. Groups of oxpeckers descend on a hippopod for their self-appointed rounds. When the work is done, they leave as quickly as they came, looking for a new herd to clean. Oxpeckers aren't the only birds who provide this service. Certain shorebirds and waders get in on the action. It's common to see wattled starlings descend on a zebra herd for a meal and a free ride. Competition can be for nesting materials, food, a roosting spot, or a mate. Birds can have stunning courtship behaviors. African crowned cranes perform a nuptial dance to attract a mate who they stay with for life. In pairs and large groups, they call to strengthen their bond and stay in contact with each other. Kingfishers feed their mates, here a spider delicacy. Cory bustards puff air sacs in their necks, creating a visual signal to all females in the area. They use the air sacs to emit a low-frequency mating call that can be heard for miles. Oddly, ground hornbills mate and roost in trees. While flightless ostrich mate on the ground. Plovers lay eggs among small rocks and stones that allow the nest to blend with its surroundings. This beautiful little crown plover protects her nest. As perceived threats come near her nest, she stands and spreads her wings in a defensive display. Bee-eaters make nests in hillside claybanks. Male ostriches incubate as many as 20 huge eggs in a communal nest, scraped and nestled into the soft earth. Secretary birds build nests together. They both gather sticks and fly back to the nest, executing a mating dance of intricate balletic bowing. Northern masked weavers build their nests in raucous colonies following the short rains. Males select a branch and build a nest. When the job is done, they signal females by grooming and wing vibration. Females fly into the new nests. If the nest fails this inspection, the male either redecorates or starts a new one. Perhaps the most amazing nest is built by the hammerkop, named with the Afrikaans word describing the shape of its head. The nest is absolutely massive. An unexpected visitor gives an indication of the nest's size. This huge male leopard relaxes the day away as the hammerkop patiently waits his chance to re-enter the nest. The tiny chin-spot batis male and female build a nest together. The male uses water droplets trapped in his feathers to shape the delicate structure. They both add to the nest by carefully weaving together gossamer spider webs and forest lichens. What is it that could possibly make the impressive hammerkop's nest, the intricate weaver bird's nest, or your house, or my house, more important to us than the tiny, carefully constructed bowl of gossamer and lichens are to the chin-spot batis? Chicks hatch and parents nurture and teach them survival skills. Egyptian geese stay in tight formation as they swim and feed. Cultish crowned crane chicks follow their parents as they search for seeds and insects. The chick feeds on plants near the ground as the adult browses at head height. Yellow-billed stork fledglings gather in nurseries until their parents take them to acacia treetops for feeding and training. They feed on the soft, new acacia leaves and at the same time strengthen their wings as they struggle for balance. A community ostrich nest hatches and joins another set of hatchlings to form a nursery watched over by several adults. Chicks grow to adults who understand how to hunt, eat, and provide for themselves and their families.
They were doing Maasai burning. They were burning all the grass. And the bee eaters were staying right ahead of the fire because all the insects are staying ahead of the fire as well. There were thousands of bee eaters, and there were thousands of lilac-breasted rollers. And you can chase lilac-breasted rollers around and try and photograph them, or you can find one on the perch that you like. In this case, we went to the edge of the fire, and there were 1,000 lilac-breasted rollers. They were diving and, just swirling through the smoke and grabbing these grasshoppers and little creepy crawly things, and then they'd pop up on a branch and then pound them and then eat them. All we had to do was find the good perches. The birds came to us, and it was really quite spectacular. I love the translucence of this smoke. It gets really intense on the bottom, but then the sun's peeking through. You got the black trees and then green to the right where it hasn't burned. All these rollers are coming in. They're just eating all the insects as they fly in front of the fire, trying to escape.
The importance of dung beetles cannot be overstated. They hatch after the short rains and use elephant dung as nutrient-rich places to lay their eggs. Compacting these balls by rolling them across the plains distributes seeds and fertilizes the grasslands. Entire species depend on this hatching. White storks migrate from Europe to fatten up for the mating season. Lilac-breasted rollers, Eurasian rollers, and Cory bustards all thrive during this season. One of the most voracious and efficient hunters on the plains is the ground hornbill. Families hunt in groups and will eat dung beetles, frogs, mice, crabs, or anything else that comes along. A prized photo is to get the perfectly executed toss. Waterbirds and waders spend their time in shallow waters, probing, prodding, and filtering for aquatic plants and insects. Elegant pied avocets often feed in pairs. Shovelers filter water through their wide bills. Spoonbills use similar filtering as they feed in the shallows. Pelicans patrol the waters using their unique pouched bills to scoop up fish. They often use cooperative hunting, a herding strategy to surround schools of fish. Egrets, herons, and these yellow-billed storks patrol reed-fringed shallows and Nile cabbage-choked lagoons for fish, insects, and frogs. The saddle-billed stork delicately rinses his beak after eating a frog. Another interesting shot is one of a yellow-billed stork drinking. Kingfisher's hunting style is similar to bee eaters. They have a favorite perch. Sight the prey, fly off, and return to the same perch with their prize. This malachite kingfisher isn't certain he likes the texture of the spider he just ate. There are as many variations on feeding as there are types of birds. Seed and fruit eaters browse areas where the food is ripe. Raptors are built to hunt with their sharp, powerful talons and their massive beaks. Owls hunt mice, voles, and other small mammals, keeping their populations in check. What a battle it must have been when this eagle owl hunted this genet cat. Secretary birds patrol the grasslands in constant search of snakes, rodents, and insects. African harrier hawks have a unique way of hunting for insects. They patrol in areas where there are stands of dead trees. Their snake-like necks are suited to explore behind dead bark. They hang on to the tree with their beak as they use powerful legs and claws to pry away the bark and use their huge wings to keep balance. Tawny eagles and steppe eagles look similar, but the larger steppe eagle weighs in at just under 11 pounds. Here, a steppe eagle uses its powerful beak and neck to rearrange an entire wildebeest kill. What are the factors that go into the making of dynamic storytelling bird images?
I try to avoid taking birds that are high in trees because the angle is awkward. It's just you're looking right up at them and they're looking down their nose at you. So I prefer when I see a raptor at eye level, I just, I grab the driver and sort of, signal that we need to stop without screaming because you don't want to scare the bird. But when you can look dead on in the eye of a raptor, it's more intimidating for the viewer when they see that photo.
East Africa is a land of superlatives. Here lives the largest of all birds, the ostrich, the smallest raptor, the pygmy falcon, Africa's heaviest raptor with the largest wingspan, the Marshall eagle, the aptly named Goliath heron, the tallest of all wading birds, and the greatest diversity of vulture species, including Ruppel's griffon vulture, lappet-faced vulture, the uncommon Egyptian vulture, hooded vulture, white-backed vulture, palm nut vulture, and the multicolored white-headed vulture. People say the lilac-breasted roller is the most beautiful bird. So, statistically, there must be a most beautiful roller, whether it's breeding plumage, just after a rain, the perch, or the quality of light. So in the world of infinite improbabilities, there has to be a least attractive lilac-breasted roller. Here is our chance to have a bird's eye view and the opportunity to enjoy some of the birds of East Africa's most dynamic behaviors. Elephants share news with the most delicate touching of trunks. A lioness calls for her cubs. Vero's eagle owls call to each other, welcoming the night. A rose-breasted longclaw and capped larks sing to welcome in the new day. A black-bellied bustard has a well-orchestrated call to attract a mate. The diminutive three-banded plover calls to its mate. There's no doubt why it's called the Hadada ibis. Bird calls echo across the plains, lakes, and woodlands. Burfowl call in the evening for the same reason there is a dawn chorus at sunrise. What is the importance of communication to the survival of the family, the pack, or the flock that has allowed them to survive for millennia? How vital is it for us to relearn those communication skills and to have the human species reconnect with the natural world for the survival of all?
And think how these wild creatures have so much in common with each other and with us. Through Todd's lens, we see a vanishing natural world. We can see a world we have the power to protect. If we, of all creatures, can best understand consequences and plan far ahead, then let us do so.
I choose to use my photography to stand with nature, our delicate planet, and the wildlife that are shown in this documentary.
To the ends of the earth is sharing the earth's beauty to illustrate exactly what is at stake. Imagine a world without elephants, lions, giraffes, and those are just the obvious animals at risk. Collectively, these images explore different aspects of the animal's behavior, a visual commentary on what it means to be born free into the last wild places.